Tonight on the Final Play.
We'll regroup after this weekend and get ready to work because we got a tough stretch ahead of us.
The Saints are recovering from their Thursday night thumping while looking ahead to the final 4 games of the season. We make sense of what's to come with Deuce McAllister. Plus, LSU is hoping to finish strong in the desert against the country's hottest team, Central Florida. See who's going where in the college football postseason and get a preview of the high school state title games. Meanwhile, the Pelicans look to right the ship with a railroad victory, and we've got a special story of perseverance and pure joy you don't want to miss.
From Fox 8 Sports, this is the Final Play, sponsored by your Southern Quality Ford dealer, built Ford tough, and Nissan.
Good evening and welcome to the Final Play. Hope you Saints fans enjoyed your Sunday off and recovered well from Thursday. I'm your host tonight, Chris Hagan, and over the next half hour, we'll point you in the right direction of where the Saints went wrong, but also what lies ahead and how they can bounce back. Starting us off from Dallas, here's Sean Fazan.
They say everything is bigger in Texas, and in the case of the Cowboys, they served the Saints a big old slice of humble pie Thursday night in the Lone Star State.
You know, we got beat. We got beat tonight, and there'll be a number of things we could point to, but overall, we just didn't do enough.
And in the era of offensive juggernauts, the Cowboys proved defenses can still be dominant. They completely shut down Drew Brees and the high-octane Saints offense. They held them to season lows of 10 points and 176 total yards. The Saints only converted 3 third downs and held the ball for just 23 minutes.
Really good pass rush team. You know, I felt like we didn't really find a rhythm for pretty much the whole game. You know, I mean, I guess we may have had one decent drive, but for the most part, I felt like we were just didn't really find a great rhythm with what we were doing.
The bright side was the black and gold defense. They kept the Saints in the game. They sacked Dak Prescott 7 times and forced 2 turnovers, and once again proved their run defense is for real. They held Ezekiel Elliott to just 76 yards on 23 carries.
We obviously want to make the plays, and you know, if the game comes down to us making a play, and we like that, but you know, it just is what it is. You just got to play every play, and you know, go from there.
Week by week, we're just trying to get better at execution. We have our goals every week. We just try to keep getting better.
Overall, though, the Saints didn't come close to playing to their capability. Things were just off. They did play 3 games in 11 days, but the team was quick to squash that as an excuse. Regardless, at 10-2, the Saints are still in a great spot in the NFC. But now it's all about getting refreshed and ready as the 4th quarter of their season arrives next Sunday.
It's always important. Yeah. I mean, whether you win or whether you lose, we say it all the time. It's a lot easier to say after you win, clearly, but after you lose, it's the same process. We have to go dissect the tape. We may play them again. We may not play them again. It really doesn't matter at this point. What matters is moving on to next week.
Always glad to have our Saints analyst and former Saints running back Deuce McAllister with us to try to make sense of just the Saints' 2nd loss of the season. It's been a while since we've had to deal with this, but what did we learn most from that game in Dallas?
Well, one, that you played a very good team. I think that's what you take away from it, you know, at the beginning. And then for the Saints, some of the things that they know that they need to work on to be able to be successful. I mean, look, you know, I think when you look at it from a special team standpoint, you were really, really good. Whether you talk about coverage, whether you talk about the punting game and/or field goals. You look at the defense, you were really good in some areas, but some things to clean up. And then offensively, you know, I think there's numerous places where you can say we got to be better here. We've got to convert on 3rd down. We can't allow to lose on 1st down yardage. So a lot of things that they can get better at. And, you know, I think that even though in a loss, you still feel pretty good about it.
To me, going into that game in Dallas, from the Cowboys' point of view, it felt like how the Saints felt and the atmosphere at the Dome felt when the Saints were hosting the Rams. And the Saints got their signature win over the Rams because the Rams were that hot, most talked about team. The Saints winning the Dallas is that hot, most talked about team. Was this somewhat of a product of the Saints having that huge target on their back?
Well, it was a target on their back. I mean, because Jerry Jones put it, this was their Super Bowl. Those were his exact words, and they had to play every play like it was their Super Bowl. For the Saints, they didn't feel that way. They felt like it was just another game, another opportunity for them to go out and be successful. But for Dallas, yes, they were into it. It was in the moment. The Saints would have to match that intensity next time if they get an opportunity to play them. But the Saints still feel pretty good where they're at.
Personnel-wise, I mean, as recently as their second game against the Falcons, the Saints have had a lot of success with some of their undrafted guys and less experienced receivers and tight ends when you're looking at a Traquan Smith, a Keith Kirkwood, a Dan Arnold. Did that catch up with them, and is that a situation that exposes the Saints personnel, or is it a learning experience for those guys, or both?
I think it's a little bit of both. I think when you look at it, I think those guys can see how, if the referee is going to let a team play physical as far as bumper run coverage and be able to grab and pull and not call those, particular things, then the Saints receivers have to adjust. And, it hadn't happened a lot where they haven't got those calls, or at least that type of coverage they've played against. So I don't think it exposes them as much, but it does put something out there that they've got to overcome.
Did Dallas put some sort of recipe out there for how to defend the Saints? It's not the first time we've seen teams, sell out on the run. We've seen the Vikings do it in the past. We saw the Panthers do it last year in the playoffs. But how was Dallas able to be so successful with it? And how did the Saints, I guess, adjust to that when teams try and play them that way?
Well, a couple things. You look at it, how they were able to pressure the Saints. They were loading one side of the field, and then they had twists or power. It's coming back to the other side. They were able to hit them inside with a couple spin moves. And that's just, guys being able to see it and maybe not seeing it before on film and knowing that teams will do that to them. When you talk about the run game, the Saints have been so good on first down, getting +4, +5, and having the opportunity to do anything that they wanted on second down. And you didn't have enough of that, when you played against the Cowboys. That's something that they're going to have to get back to doing.
On the other side of the ball, I want to get your take on the defense, because they had a pretty darn good game, but is holding Dallas to 13 points in that type of game all that matters, or do you take issue with the success that Dak Prescott was able to have? I think 17 straight completions at one point, 24 of 28, or was that just the way you had to play Dallas when they have a back like Ezekiel Elliott?
Well, it was because of Ezekiel Elliott, his ability to be able to hurt you, and you were still able to hold him under 100 yards, 23 carries, 76 yards. That's really, really good. The score that he did have was on a screen, and the Saints were close to being able to stop that as well. They did get hit, 2 times on screen plays. They have to clean that up a little bit and recognize it and see it. But what was interesting from a defensive standpoint, you caused 2 turnovers. You sacked the quarterback 7 times. Now, the penalties, you want to get cleaned up. And then the big plays, they were able to hit you with a couple big plays. You want to eliminate those. But if this Saints defense can hold teams to 13 points, you'll take it all day.
It doesn't take more than 5 minutes on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, anywhere. Our Final Play app, Final Word features. People have a lot to say about this game. I think a lot of people are in their feelings a little bit more about this game. Why does it feel worse than it is? Because the Saints are still a 10-2 team. Because
it was a rival. I mean, you look at, you have the Falcons, you have the Cowboys. A lot of people say, well, maybe it's because of the NFC race. No, I think it's just because so many Saints fans don't like the Cowboys, and so to lose to them, it adds a little bit on top of it. Normally a lot more than just a regular loss.
There's always that Texas-Louisiana tension. Last thing, does this loss wake the Saints up? Does this, I guess, propel them forward and show them some deficiencies maybe they didn't know they had?
Well, it's just go back to the basics. Just go back to doing the little things, and you can't allow this one game to beat you again. You can't allow it to beat you twice, in a sense. So for me, to look at this team, go back to the basics. Go back to the fundamental footballs, which made you so successful when you were able to run off 10 straight.
He's Saints Hall of Famer Deuce McAllister. Deuce, thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Coming up, Fiesta, Fiesta. Hear how Coach O plans to finish LSU's season in style, and find out what Tulane's offense will look like under a new coordinator in their bowl showdown against the Ragin' Cajuns of Lafayette.
You're watching The Final Play.
Here it is, what we've been building up to all season. The college football playoff featuring, of course, #1 Alabama taking on the Big 12 champs Oklahoma, and undefeated Clemson facing 12-0 Notre Dame. No LSU, of course, but flashback to the first time you saw the Tigers' 2018 schedule. Some found it hard to give them 6 wins. Others wouldn't commit to more than 8. And almost no one said the Tigers would finish with 9 or more wins en route to a New Year's 6 bowl game. But that's why you play the game. The Tigers earned a trip to their first Fiesta Bowl in school history with a 9-3 record and an 11th place finish in the college football playoff rankings. Their opponent is a popular one, undefeated Central Florida on a 25-game win streak who hasn't suffered a loss since 2016. Greedy Williams has announced that he'll declare for the NFL draft. But just as big as who the Tigers are facing is what it means to the program returning to a big-time postseason game. Coach O says they won't take the opportunity or their opponent, Central Florida, lightly.
Well, we're highly motivated. This is where our team wanted to go when the possibilities of coming up to certain bowls came up. In fact, our team wanted to go to Fiesta Bowl, and we have complete respect for UCF. We're going to be highly motivated. We're not happy the way the season ended our last game. Our guys are going to be ready to play.
And as big as that is for LSU, there may be even more cause for celebration uptown as Tulane makes their long-awaited return to bowl season. Their path was unorthodox, losing to the lesser teams on the schedule and beating some of the heavy hitters. But the end more than justifies the means. Here's Garland Gillen.
Tulane clinched a bowl berth last Saturday with this last-second two-point conversion against Navy. Today they found out their destination for the second season. An intriguing matchup with the Raging Cajuns in Orlando.
We had a great practice Saturday. It was neat because we had a bunch of recruits in and they were able to watch us practice, which is a bonus, that we haven't had the last couple of years. But they're very, very excited. It's, for all the hard work you put in, you want them to have this type of opportunity.
Last week also saw the end of Doug Roos as Tulane's offensive coordinator. So does this mean the Waves' run-heavy attack could see a change?
I always want to have a strong run game. That's always going to be a part of our offense. I think the teams that win big have got good running attacks, so we're certainly going to emphasize that. But we're also going to make some changes, and there's going to be some things we're going to do a little bit differently. And, that's going to be, my job to find the right guy based on interviews and past successes that guys have had, and we'll get somebody really good in here.
One thing you won't see, 50 to 60-point games on a routine basis.
We're not all of a sudden going to become air raid and throw it 65 times a game and all that kind of stuff. We're not going to do that. But, I'm open to tempo.
In the 125-year history of Tulane football, this will be the 12th time the Wave go bowling. From Uptown, Garland Gillen for the Final Play.
As for Saturday's conference championship results, both of our Louisiana teams in action came up short. The Southern Jaguars falling to Alcorn State 37-28, and UL Lafayette mustering up just one touchdown against Appalachian State, and their loss 30-19. But as we know, that's not the end for the Cajuns. They get Tulane in the Cure Bowl in Orlando and the New Orleans Bowl, where Tulane and ULL met last time they were both eligible. Instead, we have Middle Tennessee and App State. Louisiana Tech makes the long flight out west to play in the Hawaii Bowl. And here in the Big Easy, on New Year's Day, Georgia takes on Texas in the Sugar Bowl. The Colonels, on the other hand, saw their season come to an end Saturday in Eastern Washington, though the game started with a lot of promise. First, a Chase 4K touchdown on a QB sneak, then Dontrell Taylor adding to their lead to make it 14-3. But Eastern Washington's the number 3 seed for a reason. Eric Berrier and their offense proved to be too much, totaling 431 yards. And to make matters worse, a late pick 6 thrown by 4K to Kettner Cup, brother of Rams receiver Cooper Cup, did them in. Nichols finishes the season 9-4, making it one step further than last year with a second-round playoff appearance and their first playoff win last week since 1986. The future is still very bright in Thibodaux. Coming up, we've got 5 of our local teams set to play for a high school state championship this weekend. We'll give you a preview of all the action next. And in the meantime, we bring you the Final Play fan camera. To submit your passionate picture, send an email to Pix, that's P-I-X, at fox8live.com.
You're watching The Final Play.
As we take a look back at Week 14 of the high school season, our play of the week was an easy decision. Corey McKnight doing work, just refusing to go down as he battled his way into the end zone. That's all we'll and want to. Corey McKnight of A-Meet with your play of the week. That play, of course, helped book a spot in the Dome for A-Meet. They'll kick off Friday at noon against Welsh, but they're not the only local team we're keeping an eye on. On Thursday, Kentwood chases a state title in Class 1A against Oak Grove. Saturday at noon, a rematch of last year's Division I title game between John Curtis and Catholic, and a rematch of Week 10 on Saturday afternoon in Class 4A, Carr and Easton, and it should not disappoint. Head over to the Fox 8 News app or fox8live.com where we have highlights and scores from Week 14. Plus, you can catch up on the latest recruiting news, check out our weekly power rankings, and even preview the championship games. Of course, the teams reaching those championship games were led by some big-time performances. 3 of them made Play of the Week nominee status, including running back Ashad Clayton from Warren Easton, A-Meet quarterback Amani Gilmore, and Edna Carr gunslinger Leonard Kelly. To vote, head over to fox8live.com/player. Voting runs through Wednesday night. Coming up, the Pelicans were in bounce-back mode today in Charlotte. Highlights from a showdown with the Hornets next.
Final Play.
How about the Pelicans in Charlotte this afternoon trying to bounce back from a loss? Much better effort out of the gate today, though. First, Drew Holiday finding AD up top for the slam. That put them up by 1 in the first quarter. Then a little bit later in the first half, it's Davis on the front end of the alley-oop for once to Julius Randle. Pelicans took a 9-point lead into the locker room. They really start to stretch that lead and stretch their reins in the third quarter. First, Nikola Mirotic, 3-kola, knocking it down. Then Wes Johnson for 3 as well. That one putting them up by 15. The fourth quarter was where Anthony Davis emphatically slammed the door with the throwdown plus the foul. He went for 36 tonight as the Pels win 119-109.
We started the game the right way, and we weren't playing uphill the entire game. So I thought we did a good job the first quarter, and even though we gave up 30 points, I thought defensively we were pretty solid.
The smile of a child is a powerful tool. It brings people that may never cross paths together. Tulane's women's basketball team understands this all too well as they were quick to rally around the latest addition to their team. And Juan Kincaid found out that this story is bigger than the game.
Not too long ago, something very special happened on Tulane's campus that you probably didn't hear about. But it was a really big deal for all those involved.
It's today that we add a very special team member to our team this year. All right, and so Bella, hey Bella, you want to be a member of this team? Yes?
And with that, Tulane had the kind of commitment from 6-year-old Arabella Gerald that doesn't come along too often, because this relationship was about much more than just hoops. To fully understand what it's really about, all you have to do is go to class with Bella and hang out with her and her best friends. A room full of 6-year-olds is where Bella feels most at ease, which came as a bit of a shock to her mom.
I was very, very nervous about putting her here. I wanted her to be in an environment where she was around other kids. I was nervous because she was fragile.
And that made Desiree Oakland's decision to enroll her here at Lycée Francais all the more difficult. You see, Bella's got a lot going on, way more than most kids her age.
She sees her friends running around and she wants to join them and tries to. She just fatigues so easily and starts falling and stumbling.
Normally a kid falling and stumbling wouldn't be that big of a deal, but for Bella, it was, and it has been for a long time. It all began when she was 6 months old. That's when her mom began to notice things.
At 6 months, whenever she didn't start rolling herself over and she wasn't making any sort of sounds that she should have been, I started to get a little concerned. And then by 9 months, I had taken her to the doctor and explained to her my concerns. And she set up an evaluation, and we started receiving referrals to neuroscientists, or not neuroscientists, neurologists and muscle specialists and all kinds of different other doctors to figure out what was going on.
And after years of trial and error by doctors, it was determined that Bella suffered from mitochondrial complex 3 deficiency, which in simpler terms means
it's like running a car on 4 cylinders, and it just misfires all the time. And it's hit or miss, and it affects each part of the body differently. What? Good.
And with Bella, the effects are to her respiratory system, liver, kidneys, and her brain. And at some point every day, her struggles are out there for all the adults to see.
High five. High five. Good. Okay.
And manage. And for all of her classmates to see and react.
Those kids were just amazing. It was amazing, and it made my heart swell, just seeing how they interacted with her and how gentle they were with her and how much they all genuinely cared about her.
Because how they care about her is exactly how Bella feels about them and anyone she comes in contact with, present company included. Like that? Yeah, so that's friends too? When in Bella's house, it's Bella's rules.
She is sunshine and puppy dog tails. Like, she is just joy. And I have no right to be wallowing in that sorrow whenever she is just bringing joy to the whole world, everybody she meets.
The absolute worst part about having a child with mito disease is trying to plan that child's future. You have no idea how much time you have. That's why making the most of every day is what's most important.
Creating memories for her and for us, because whenever she does go, that's all we're gonna have, is those memories. And I don't want those memories to be of us worrying every night about the day that is going to come. There's a lot of vulnerability and powerlessness and heartbreak because you don't know what's going on with your child and you don't know what the future holds.
We're really thankful to have her on the team, and I know she's going to be our MVP.
And that's why this was such an important occasion for Bella, for her family, and for her new teammates. All of them coming together to make a child's day brighter, and probably some adults' day as well.
It just works, and I think anytime you can add some happiness to someone, it puts a lot of things in perspective.
In so many ways. I'm Juan Kincaid, Fox 8, Local First.
Mito disease is very rare, as only 1 in 4,000 people are diagnosed with it every year. Their symptoms vary from person to person. As for Bella, her future, according to her mom, will continue to be all about focusing on making every day count. That'll do it for us tonight. From all of us here at Fox 8, thank you for watching. Fox NFL Game Day Prime is next.
From Fox 8 Sports, this has been The Final Play.